You write songs?
Yeah.
I like to hear some of your stuff.
Let's get this done and come all this way.
All right.
It's 1968, and 19-year-old Saskatoon folk singer Don Freed is backstage in Nashville with Johnny Cash. He's got about 5 minutes to impress the man in black. He's an old man now, but Cash's words from years ago are still fresh.
And he was staring at me and staring at me. I mean, he could really stare. And Don, I think you're going to do something, but I don't know what it is.
Fast forward 2 decades. Freed is making a living as a folk singer. He's released a handful of independent albums, but something is missing. He says Cash's words haunted him.
I was just like just floating along a river. And as long as my monthly rent was paid, I was fine. But I wasn't like consumed with a mainstream career. But I kept on wondering, what the hell did he mean? He thinks I'm going to do something.
In 1990, Freed's great aunt dies in Duck Lake. At her funeral, he makes a startling discovery. He's Métis. He begins researching his own history, but it's not until he's at a powwow in Regina that the emotional impact hits home.
Standing alone up in the stands, and the grand entrance begins. Drums, right? And what really moved me were the women that came in, and the stately, graceful way that they walk, and they do this bend at the knees, just really graceful. And I just stood there shaking. My whole body was like, it was like when I used to use a tamper when I worked construction. I was just shaking, and tears, right? And I was looking around, and but I wasn't embarrassed. People would look at me and know what was going on.
Freed's personal awakening came in lockstep with larger events.
The provincial government promised the Innu a better life.
In the early 1990s, the airwaves were full of stories from the Innu settlement in Davis Inlet.
Let me go, she says. I want to sniff gasoline. I want to kill myself.
The stories showed kids in crisis, addiction, and hopelessness. In a flash, Freed knew what he had to do.
I was in my apartment on Spadina Crescent in Saskatoon, listening to the radio, and the umpteenth news report about kids up in Davis Inlet came on. And I just screamed an expletive at the ceiling. I felt like I was struck by lightning. I felt this righteous anger. I don't know where it was from. Well, I got an idea now. But something told me, go up north, write songs with kids, get them to express themselves, and create a positive news story to counterbalance all the negative stuff that they're using about them.
Freed struck a deal that spring with the division that manages schools north of Prince Albert. He would travel to the remote locations and write songs with the kids, introduce them to their culture, using their own words. He barnstormed the north for a month. A CBC crew followed him one summer. The songs that emerged ranged from the mundane
There once was a boy and his name was Jack
to the dark.
People say she's up there still, that she haunts old Mission Hill.
With the songs, a final understanding of Cash's words from long ago.
When it really dropped about what he was getting to was after my first month of going up north and writing songs with kids. He picked up on some kind of impression about me that I was going to do something with music, something with songs. But he didn't know what it was because it didn't fit into his mainstream kind of thinking. But he knew it was something, and that's what it was. It was going up and writing songs with kids. And that was, for the first time in my life, I felt like a useful human being.
Freed returned to the north each summer for the next decade and a half. In 2005, he released his Métis saga, The Valley of Green and Blue.
Allons, Montreal, now our freedom's what we crave.
It had 15 songs and a booklet detailing the history of his people. A copy made its way to 88-year-old legendary folk singer Pete Seeger. Hey, he wrote, I could not resist reading a little of the booklet. Your good introduction and the words of some of the songs. Wouldn't Louis Riel be proud of what you and the kids are doing? Today, Freed is retired and living a quiet life in a Beacon Hill apartment in Victoria.
When there was a world war, submarines would prowl the seas.
He says the time is right to return to Saskatchewan and the North.
I would like to put together a band of musicians and have them learn up a selection of these songs and go back to the communities and play them and do little free concerts in their local halls. And have people coming out and hearing songs that their parents, their grandparents helped create.
Human eyes will never see. A gift was given, never to be received. What it tells of man is too sad a tale to be believed.